All right. All right, so the thing is, we spent how many weeks reading the play? First of all, did you enjoy the play?
No.
You did not enjoy it at all. Tell me why you didn't enjoy it. Sit up and pay attention. You can try to be funny too, but remember, I got you. So what is it? If you have to have an opinion, if you didn't like it, why didn't you like it? I mean, you did well on everything. You said you enjoyed the movie. You don't like to read. Okay, what is it about the play that you didn't like? Was it the reading part you didn't like? Or you didn't like the content of the play? Content. Okay, tell me what about the content you didn't like. You have to have an opinion. You can't just say, I don't like something. There has to be a reason. You don't know? Oh, okay. Well, not knowing is probably why you ended up with a D on the test. I mean, how about you? Did you enjoy it? First of all, what did you like? If you liked it, what did you like more? Did you like the movie or did you like reading?
Paper's better than the reason.
I agree. I mean, the movie was cool. There were some differences between the movie and the actual play itself. And I'm glad we were able to get the abridged version, because if you saw the actual, like the text from William Shakespeare, from Macbeth, very hard to understand. Super hard to understand that. It's all written in like Old English. This is more modernized for you. How about you? Did you enjoy the video?
The video?
Were you here with us to watch the movie? You missed the movie? We showed the whole Macbeth movie. There's a new one coming out, I guess, with Denzel Washington. You guys know who that is?
Is it?
Huh? He's a black actor. He's been in all kinds of stuff, like John Q, The Equalizer. I'm not sure what part he's going to play, because I haven't seen the preview, but I heard it's supposed to be coming out this year. Most of William Shakespeare's plays are all tragedies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where it ends in something bad happening, like Romeo and Juliet, right? Have you guys ever read Romeo and Juliet?
I don't know what it's about.
You know what it's about? They have a bunch of different movies for it. There's basically, first of all, let's start with two young people fall in love. They're from two different families. Their families don't get along. They fall in love and they're forbidden to be together. One of them decides to fake their death. The other one comes upon it and thinks that she really died. Romeo thinks she really died. So he ends up taking his life. In the end, it's just a tragedy. They both lose their life and they're young, right? I would like to do. We haven't done Romeo and Juliet for a couple of years. Next year, you guys are all in 10th grade, so I'm not sure if I'll have you for English, but hopefully we'll get to do Romeo and Juliet, because they have the actual, the older version of the Romeo and Juliet movie. But there's another version with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Uh-huh.
It's fantastic. It's all set in Venice, California.
Yeah.
Like the beach community instead of Venice, Italy. It's kind of a dark version, but it's really cool. So let's go over some of these questions. Act 1. Prophecies of the three witches lead Macbeth and Lady Macbeth to what? What did you get, Keelan? Number 1. To invite Duncan to a party. What did you get, Alex? Number 1.
B.
Plot the murder. So Keelan, do me a favor, sit up, because I like to have your attention when I'm talking to you, okay? They invited him to a party, okay? But remember, the prophecies, what did the witches say? The witches said that he would become king, right? They gave a whole bunch of prophecies, right? You'll become king. Your children will not be king. So basically he was, He was bearing barren fruit, which means his children would grow up, but they would not take over the throne. So as soon as they find out from the witches that he can become king, later on you find out it's one of the questions, but who did you remember who Macbeth appointed to be king in his absence? It was Malcolm, right? Okay, so with the witches telling him that he's going to be king, but Duncan ends up appointing somebody else to take his place, immediately, well, were Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, do you think they were a little bit crazy?
I think Macbeth was fine until his wife started talking to him about it.
Exactly, because you'll find he didn't really want to do it, right?
He was hesitant.
Very hesitant. So immediately, Lady Macbeth, her wheels start going, and she's like, we have to get rid of the king before he can appoint someone else, because Macbeth was given the title of Thane of Cawdor, right? Which is like, in that time, it was just below the king. It's like the king's right-hand man. Number 2, Duncan rewards Macbeth for his what? Alex?
Bravery.
Bravery. Keelan? Bravery, right? What did he do that was brave? Do you guys remember? The very beginning.
I think he fought in a battle.
Yeah, there was a huge
Turned
battle,
the
right?
tide.
He single-handedly turned the tide of the war. He rushed in with just his armor and took care of business. So I mean, he already had the favor of the king. So the king wanted to reward him for his bravery, because without Macbeth, when they enter into the story, it makes it sound like like the war would have been different, and Duncan may have been dethroned from his position as king. The Thane of Cawdor, number 3. The Thane of Cawdor is executed for being what did you get, Alex?
Traitor.
And what did you get, Keelan? Traitor. Was he a traitor?
In the story, they called him a traitor.
They called him a traitor. But if you remember the actual story, he fought like everybody else, but it was because Macbeth was so extra. Macbeth went so over the top that it led them to believe that the previous Thane of Cawdor, was a traitor. But he wasn't. I mean, he just didn't jump into battle all by himself and go nuts. All right, number 4. The witches tell Banquo that he will what? Okay, Alex? Alex, if I have to tell you to put your electronic device away again, I'm going to take it. Okay? Completely away. Don't let me see it. Next time I see it, it becomes mine until your dad comes and gets it. All right. Number 4, what'd you get, Keelan? Huh? B. The witches tell Banquo that he will be a king. Alex, did you get the same thing?
Be a father.
You put be the father of kings? And remember, who is going to be the father of kings? Think about it.
Banquo.
Banquo. So the witches tell Banquo that he will be the father of kings, Keelan, right? Remember, it's Banquo, not Macbeth. Macbeth, the witches didn't tell Banquo that he would be king, only that his children would be king. Which later leads to, we'll discuss that in a minute. All right, Duncan names his successor. We just discussed it. What do you have?
Malcolm.
Keelan?
A.
Donalbain? All right, Donalbain was like a secondary character, but it was Malcolm. Why was Malcolm named?
The child of Duncan.
Excuse me?
The child of Duncan.
Because Malcolm is Duncan's son, right? That's why, I mean, it makes sense that he would be named as his father's successor to the crown. Number 6, when Lady Macbeth says, "Yet I do fear your nature, it is too full of the milk of human kindness to go the fastest way," it can be assumed that, what'd you get, Keelan? D. C, I'm sorry, that Macbeth moves too slowly. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Right. Because, I mean, she pretty much called her own husband a coward, right? You know, well, I mean, again, like you said when we first started, Macbeth was hesitant to want to do anything. He was kind of happy with being the Thane of Cawdor, right? But then his wife, in all her madness, starts getting this plot going, and Macbeth's kind of dragging his feet, and his wife is right there to call upon it, unfortunately. Number 7, Lady Macbeth gives the guards wine and liquor to, what'd you guys get? Hey, yeah, to make him sleep through the murder. Why would she want the guards to sleep through the murder? Why do you think?
Look like they did it.
So they could eventually put the murder on them, right? If you've got guards and I want to kill you, last thing I want is them being up and paying attention and having a party and plying people with alcohol. I guess that's a good way to do it, as long as you think they're going to drink that much that they're going to fall asleep. Number 7, Lady Macbeth gives the guard, read that one, sorry. Number 8, when Lady Macbeth says that Duncan will never see the sun again, she means that he will what? Be dead before the morning. Again, Lady Macbeth is pretty cutthroat.
D is all the way on the next page.
It is. Be put in prison. But number 9, Duncan wants to visit Macbeth's castle because why does the king want to go to Macbeth's castle? Get an answer.
B.
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 B. He wants to honor Macbeth even more, right? Because of his bravery, the fact that he really saved the kingdom. He saved Scotland. Macbeth's mood in his soliloquy in scene 7 begins with, if it must be done. This can best be described as D, reluctant. So if it must be done, kind of like that, well, if I have to. It's like if I tell you, hey, you got a big assignment today and it's, I need you to have it done by Tuesday. You'd be like, all right, if I have to. You don't really want to, but it has to be done, right? Unfortunately, his wife has convinced him that it has to be done. All right, moving into Act 2. What is the main thing that happens in Act 2? B. Macbeth kills Duncan in Act 2. The signal for Macbeth to kill Duncan is what?
C.
What'd you get?
C.
What'd you get?
C.
C, it was a bell, yeah. And did you guys notice in the movie? In the movie, was it a bell?
No.
It wasn't a bell.
They weren't even in Macbeth's castle.
Right, they were outside, huh? So there
They
was,
could have stayed with the plot line.
right. They changed, there were a couple things they changed, like the murder of Banquo, right? Why were they able to, why was his son able to get away?
Because he was tiny and also he ran away.
Because what?
He was tiny inside the movie.
In the movie, but what about in the play? What did
It
they,
was too dark.
and because they blew out, the murderers blew out all the torches, right?
The one torch.
Completely different, made it dark where they couldn't see him.
I was like in the slight becoming dark time. Like an hour before dark, that's when the movie said Banquo Day.
Number 13, Lady Macbeth does go back to Duncan's room to, why did Lady Macbeth go to Duncan's room?
B.
D, you agree? Smear the blood up with the guard. Who was supposed to do that? Macbeth was supposed to, right? He was supposed to be the one that, can you put your phone away, please? Macbeth was the one that was supposed to go in, commit the murder. Lady Macbeth gave the guards the alcohol. Macbeth was supposed to go in, commit the murder, smear blood on the guards. He came back kind of in a frenzy, right? He was just like in shock. He got blood all over himself, but he didn't do the main deed. There was nobody left to take the blame because the guards are asleep without any evidence on the guards. Nobody's going to believe the guards did it, right? Okay, Macduff and Lennox come to Macbeth's castle because why did they come to this castle? Or in the movie, why did they come to his tent?
To wake them.
To wake Duncan. They had been given instructions. They needed to wake Duncan up, right? Wake him early so that they could start the next day's festivities. Why did Macbeth kill the guards?
They would have denied.
What do you think, Keelan? Yeah, they would have denied the murder, right? I see, because you noticed, it was a little more, hold on a second, let me get that. Forward on, Chris. right, finished? Perfect. You hand it to me. And we're just going over the answers. I'll grade yours as soon as we're done. Now that yours are all complete. All right.
So last one we're on is 16.
Yeah, number 16. Malcolm and Donalbain flee. Why did they flee? What do you think? B. And you know what? That's your head for a second. I want you to be confident in your answers, okay? Because here's the thing, you understand the material very well. You do. That makes sense, okay? Because they didn't truly explain it. It makes sense that they think they might be. You said B? And what did you say?
B.
B. Somebody had put A. You didn't put A? You did put A. But now you know it's B, right? Okay, perfect. See, that's what I'm saying. That's why we go through the review. I want you to be confident, okay? You're a very smart young man. I think sometimes you get down on yourself, okay? You're very smart. Next time when we take the test, you finish pretty quick, right? Just try to slow down and take your time. I don't rush you on anything. I'll give you all the time you need, okay? But they don't really explain it. So your answer of A, that they think they might be suspected of the murder, that makes sense. Because who's Malcolm? No, it's Duncan's son, right? And remember, Malcolm had Duncan had told everybody that Malcolm will be my successor. So when I die, my son will become king, right? That happened just the day before. And then the next day his dad's dead. So that's not, when you put that answer, that wasn't too far from the realm of possibility, okay? There's no reason to think that they might not consider that. I mean, what's that? 409 is Chris. Bye. Thank you. Bye. Okay, because say if I'm the king, and yesterday I said, my son is going to take my place. The next day I'm murdered. That could put blame on you, right? I mean, it's, there's put reasonable doubt in people's mind that, the person who was slaughtered to take the king's place may have had a reason to kill the king, okay? But later on, we find out that, in fact, it was because they were afraid they might be murdered next. But did it make them look guilty? When Malcolm and Donalbain left, people started thinking, right, did they kill the king? Right? So the people were already thinking that. That's not what they left. They happened to leave because they're like, I mean, they knew they didn't kill the king. But thank you. So go ahead and just sit right there, and we're going over the answers right now. They knew they didn't kill the king. So they thought, well, whoever killed the king may want to kill the king's son. But I think that's why they fled, but other people were like, So, I mean, either one was a pretty good answer. Number 17. Why can't Lady Macbeth kill Duncan herself? You put A, because she has no weapon? Okay. If you think back, what is the one thing she says about Duncan? Who does Duncan remind her of?
Her dad.
Her dad, right? So even though, I mean, she was very ambitious about wanting the king dead, she just couldn't do it herself. That's her excuse. Okay, her excuse was, I can't do it myself because he looks like my dad. But, I mean, the truth is, I think she put it on her husband. I mean, if you really try to analyze what was going on. But the correct answer is that because Duncan did remind her of her father. Okay, move into Act 3. What's the most important thing that happened in Act 3? Okay, you put the murder of Banquo. Alex, what do you have? C, the murder of Banquo. Exactly. Why was Banquo murdered? Why did Macbeth want Banquo murdered?
Because Banquo's children would be king.
Because his children be kings, right? He figured, Macbeth figured, you know what, I already went to all this trouble, I murdered the king. Definitely not going to let the man live whose sons are going to become king, right? Because, again, why did Macbeth kill Duncan? Because he wants to be king. So it's like, it's kind of like committing crimes and lying kind of go hand in hand. It's like once you tell one lie, you find yourself often having to tell another, right? And another, and another, and another. That's why it's always best not to lie. You commit crimes, a lot of times, man, one crime leads to another, so you can cover it up, to another, to another. So it's always best to be the best person you can be, right? Because, I mean, Macbeth found himself in a situation where he had to become more and more evil. Okay, before the feast, not the feats, as Alec pointed out for me, before the feast, Banquo and Fleance go, where'd they go? B. Right? You guys agree? You guys took the test? Huh?
You have my headset.
I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, as long as you don't have pencils, you can.
My eyes got pencils, Chris. I could just look at it and check
Well, man, if you're that talented, then
my fingers, watch.
I'm gonna let you have. All right, sorry. Okay, so you're right.
Where you guys at?
Number 19. I have 3 questions.
I was like, yeah, I have my headset.
You don't remember your answer to every single question? Jeez.
No.
I kind of just looked at it. I knew the answer.
Okay, so before the feast, Banquo and Fleance, they went horseback riding. What time did they say they would return?
Before feast.
Before the feast, right? All right,
So what's 19? Horseback
they went
riding?
horseback riding. Number 20, Macbeth tells the murderers that Banquo betrayed them, killed Duncan, is his brother, or is a traitor. Who put, anybody put A? Yeah, that was the whole thing. Everybody, yeah. If you remember back in the story, he made up this big elaborate story about how Banquo betrayed them. Banquo he's the reason they have so many troubles in life. Why things aren't going well for them because Banquo has betrayed them in everything. Because Banquo was
Being a traitor and betraying someone is
it kind of is, but
really identical.
a traitor is more related to like
The kingdom as a whole.
exactly, but betraying them specifically because you can tell somebody, hey, well, this person's a traitor. Well, if they don't have like this big love or support for the kingdom or for the group, it may not mean anything to them. But you tell somebody they betrayed you specifically, and your job is already, you're a hired killer. You don't, it's not going to take much to get a hired killer to kill somebody. You say, hey, you know what, this person betrayed you.
Basically saying you talk shit.
Not everybody.
Right?
He was responsible for all their troubles.
Nowadays, that's gossip.
That is gossip. Number 21. Regarding the murder of Banquo, Lady Macbeth. What'd you get?
B.
B. What'd you get? And you?
B.
D. B or D?
B.
B. Yep. She knew nothing about it because he tells her it's best that you don't know, which I found interesting because she knows everything about everything else, and it was all her idea. But let's not give you the details of that thing. All right, number 22. When Macbeth hears that Fleance escaped, he is
C.
very
I
upset.
remember the scene exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, in the book, the book makes it sound like it was more of a quiet thing.
Yeah, this guy was out loud.
But in the movie, he was like grabbing him by the face in front of everybody and chastising him for, when people were
Right? What the hell? I would that's what I was wondering. I was like, why is he just like yelling all this out? Like,
yeah, exactly. In front of everybody, and they're like, huh? Number 23. The murders were probably,
Oh,
number 23?
B.
Okay, what'd you put, Ulysses?
but D.
D, okay, and Keelan?
I was gonna put B, but I didn't.
B?
I didn't get
D? How about you?
D.
D. Okay, the murderers are probably failures who blame their misfortune on others.
what they blame it on.
They're murderers. Well, they murdered Banquo because they're blaming their misfortune. They believe what Macbeth said, that he betrayed them, right?
I was gonna put that one.
So all their misfortunes are caused by Banquo. So, and usually people, again, the key word is murderers, okay? If you're a murderer, you're probably not a good person. Chances are you're not a good father because you're a
Because you're a
sociopath.
hard worker, though, like killing people.
That's not what they mean by work, dude. Putting in work is not murdering people, dude. You might, if they said murderers are probably good, hard working murderers.
Dude, imagine like 10K a job.
If what?
10K a drop, is that too little?
I don't know, I'm not a hitman, dude, but I know, is it worth a lifetime of your freedom?
No.
I don't care how much it is. I mean, if they tell you I'll pay you $100,000 to kill somebody.
But there's people that can do it.
Yeah, but, dude, let me tell you something about being a criminal, dude. They always get caught,
Eventually.
eventually. So at some point, I mean, you may be living the dream for a minute, but then you have not just no dream, you have no life. You know, so that old adage that crime doesn't pay, that's true, dude. Because in the end, you're gonna end up with nothing.
Once you're the Zodiac killer and died before they find you.
Yeah, which is one in how many?
If he died.
And even still, I guarantee the Zodiac killer didn't, I mean, so he didn't get caught, right? He died before that? Do you think he had a good life running and hiding his entire life? Having to hide who he is, you know, masquerade behind always worried that somebody's gonna come and get you? That's not a good life. I know for me, I like knowing
You're
that,
always thinking something.
exactly, you're always worried something bad's gonna happen. For me, I like knowing that, you know what, I may not have everything I want. I work hard so I can have everything I need, but nobody can ever take that from me, and I don't have to watch my back all the time. Yeah, that's not a good quality of life. Number 24, when Macbeth tells Lady Macbeth, "We are young in such things," it is implied that they're only in their 20s, they're under 40, it's early in the day, or that they're planning more evil deeds. A. I hope you really didn't put A.
C.
You put C, it's early in the day.
Yeah.
The answer is D. They're planning more evil deeds. In other words, we're young in such things. It's like, this is just the beginning, right?
We're doing
Very
this.
beginning. This is the very start of things. We have a lot more evil things that we're going to, unfortunately,
What are we doing now?
Hmm?
Are we reading another book?
no, we're going to start writing.
Ooh,
You guys are going to learn how to write. So when you move on to your English 11
Alright.
class, you're going to do fine.
we're gonna write a book.
We'll write stories, paragraphs, start with paragraphs, sentences, paragraphs. You guys need to have good sentence structure, but we'll get to that next. But yeah, it's an important skill to have, and you didn't get that right for English class, so I'm gonna make sure you get it in your 10th grade class. All right, Act 4, Lily, this is where you come in.
Chris,
So go ahead and turn to number 26, because this is where you came in, so this is where
You missed the question, bro.
Oh, you're right, number 25. The reason Macbeth wants to kill Fleance.
It's B.
He wants to kill Fleance.
I know the next
What
one.
was the witch's prediction about Fleance?
That they will become king. He will become king.
He would become king, Banquo's son, right? Very, very good.
the next one A?
Number 26.
Why did you put that, bro?
Because the visions were very strange.
Yes,
Think about it. They were off and weird and
Yes,
eerie.
D.
Did anyone choose A?
Pardon me?
No, I said did anyone choose A?
So the first vision tells Macbeth that he has 3 ears. He should be aware of Macduff, the trees will march, or Banquo will return.
I chose A.
You chose A, he has 3 ears? All right. We're just not
Wait,
even.
did you actually?
No.
Oh, thank goodness. Because I was like, I didn't think anybody chose A, because I would have probably talked about you. If you had. But, yeah, B, he should be aware of Macduff, right? Remember, 3 visions, right? In the second vision tells Macbeth what? That?
I put A.
I put A.
That his wife will die?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no visions told him his wife would die. That was completely unexpected. If you remember, as we were reading through the play, when his wife died, I mean, she was all out of her mind and stuff, but then when she died, everybody was like, what? And it was pretty abrupt. I mean, at least they drug it out in the movie, where they paid some attention to it. In the play,
It just happens. Like,
yeah, she just dies, and he's all, I mean, his words were pretty much, in the abridged version,
oh, well.
it would happen sooner or later. At least in the movie, he picked her up and had some nice things to say to her.
What
But
did he
yeah,
say?
it is not his wife will die. Who got something else?
I got C.
C?
C for
I put
27.
A.
That's it. Number 27 is C. None of woman born will harm him. Okay, so nobody born of woman can harm him. Which gives you, I mean, that would give you a pretty good sense of confidence, right? To our knowledge, is everybody not born a woman? I mean, I haven't heard of any cases where a man birthed a child,
I
right?
have.
So,
I
I mean, well, again, they're doing science, there's different things in science.
Literally me.
You have born,
Yeah,
well, then you should be rich right now.
I know. You know, hey, have you seen that thing where they gave a guy a pig heart?
Yeah, they do it all the time.
Really?
The guy
A pig
that,
heart?
guy that recently gave to it, he died.
Yeah, like 2 months later.
Yeah, but there have been some successful transplants because pig hearts are pretty close to human hearts.
And they've been living like right now, but they have to take pills.
They take anti-rejection drugs, yeah, a lot.
Because
Well,
when
what
shit,
is
you put a
that?
pig in your body.
It's nice.
It's the heart of a pig. So like if you need a heart transplant,
Yeah.
they've transplanted a human heart and put in a pig heart, a bovine heart.
Does it
Not
cost a
bovine,
lot?
sorry. Huh?
Does it cost a lot? Obviously.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like my wife she's had open heart surgery. Like 6 years ago, she almost died. She went to the dentist, they cleaned her teeth and they gave her an infection. The staph infection went into her bloodstream and lodged in her heart.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so I mean, she almost died. She was in the hospital for like 4
I
months.
wonder what the heart looks like.
Open heart surgery, and just that surgery, they didn't transplant the heart, they just fixed it. It was
I
$985,000,
mean, you know what the heart looks like. We'll probably never see it in real life.
almost $1 million.
I want to see what the heart looks like in the body, like pumping. Is that weird
I
to
mean,
say?
there's
Like, I wanna
probably
see what it
videos.
looks
No, there's plenty of videos.
Yeah.
like. But you'll see the
Why a
shit.
pig heart
That's-
though?
You can find it because
It's the closest to you.
yeah, anatomically, it's very close to a human heart. Basically, it has the valves in the same place as the human heart. But we have valves, right?
They connect.
Yeah, one side where the blood comes in, one side where the blood comes out. The valves of the heart of a pig are very close.
Chris, do they just stick those valves in the pig's heart and it just works?
So we don't stick them in there. They
How
have to
do
sew
you
them
do this?
on. They have to sew the blood vessels and arteries. And
Do they die for a second?
no, they keep them on. It's like an artificial machine that keeps them alive.
Oh.
So they can
I'm
live
sure.
without
I
the
think
heart.
that. I mean, 'cause I have read about it. I think at some point their death does occur,
Mhm.
but it's very short. Just while because they interrupt the electrical pulse
Uh-huh.
and they plug it in enough to where the pulse gets going again. But then there's it's a long process. I mean, those
Oh.
surgeries last like 20 some hours of like
Like
actual
nonstop?
surgery. Yeah.
How do you get to this?
They make a lot of money then.
Well, because we were talking about a born of woman and he should be rich because, he gave birth and whatever. Number 28, the third vision tells Macbeth that he will,
Hey,
A, be defeated only if Burnham Wood comes to Dunsinane Hill.
That sounds stupid. It's like,
Well, it sounds like it couldn't possibly happen,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Again, so I mean, if you go based on, again, Macbeth is not all there at this point, right?
not anymore.
Yeah, at this point, he's not all there, but he's being told these visions that he sees. Why did he see visions? In the book, it doesn't describe it, but if you notice in the movie, what
Did he
happened?
kill Banquo?
He drank something, right?
Oh.
Well, I mean,
Oh,
he
yeah.
was hallucinating,
Oh,
and because he was easily influenced,
didn't Lady Macbeth see that too? The Three Witches?
she didn't. She went off everything that was told to her by Macbeth.
Banquo was the other one that saw the Three Witches.
Right, Banquo did. All right. Lennox comes to tell Macbeth that
See?
the what?
See,
C. Macduff had fled to England. I know somebody put that Lady Macbeth is dead.
Yeah, I put that.
Okay, but Lady Macbeth doesn't die until Act 5.
Okay.
Okay, but I mean, again,
My first.
I can
answer-
see where you get that confused though. It's not, again, not a terrible answer. I can see where you get confused because somebody did come to Macbeth and tell him that his wife had died.
Yeah, I'll make that.
Yeah, it was a message.
Oh.
All right, number 30. Lady Macduff is angry with her husband for,
hang out.
did you put staying out late?
Yeah. I was gonna put B, Chris, but I didn't think it was.
Well, it wasn't B, it was D.
Oh,
He left his family.
alright.
Okay, he left his wife and his sons so that he could go to Scotland. Number 31. Because Macduff leaves Scotland, it can be assumed that he what?
And
Anybody get anything other than A? You got C, that he wants to travel? Well, I mean, dude, he probably did want to travel. Who doesn't want to travel? But with everything going on, the most appropriate answer is that he thought his family was safe. Right?
yeah, man.
Well, yeah, he was definitely wrong. The messenger who comes to warn Lady Macbeth does not stay long because
Hey,
Lady Macduff.
because what?
Lady Macduff, not Lady Macbeth.
Macduff. That's right. We had to correct that.
so,
Lady Macduff does not stay long because he knew there was danger. That's what he came to warn Lady Macduff about, right? There's danger. All right, number 33. Macduff's immediate reaction to the news brought by Ross is.
C.
Anybody get anything other than C?
I hope.
Huh? He was happy that his wife got murdered? 409 is Chris.
Oh yay, my wife died. It sounds like those boomer posts on Facebook.
She is. Sure, can I do that in about 10 minutes? Because we're reviewing a test. 208, thanks.
10 minutes, the class don't be over, Chris.
That's all right.
Sounds like those boomer posts.
All right. Number 33, nope, 34 in Act 5. The main thing that happens in Act 5 is,
D.
so a couple of you put D. Who put D? Raise your hand if you put D
For 34?
for number 34. Okay, so what was a bigger deal in the final act? That Lady Macbeth died, or that Macbeth
Oh wait,
was
that's
defeated
just
by
the final
Malcolm?
death. Wait, this is the final. Wait,
Act 5. They both, yes, Lady Macbeth did die in Act 5.
no,
That wasn't the main one?
I didn't know that this was the last act.
I mean, it's
So
Act
it's
5
B.
of 5.
So it's B.
I didn't.
Huh?
It's B.
No, it's D. Yeah, B. Macbeth is defeated by Malcolm, and Malcolm becomes king.
smart.
I was
I'm
gonna,
so smart, obviously.
You are smart. You just got to confused. Because you're right. You guys are correct, 100%. Lady Macbeth died in Act
that
5.
should be a two.
No, because what is the whole? What is the name of the story? Is this the name of the story Lady Macbeth?
No.
No. So you have to. Both of them are correct. Lady Macbeth died, and Macbeth was defeated, and Malcolm became king. But that was the. I mean, that was the climax, right?
I'm not allowed to do my answer. Alright.
No, you're not. That's why we're good. It's okay. I'm sure you're gonna do fine on the
No,
test.
because I.
Okay, when Lady Macbeth walks in her sleep, she carries.
I watched
And-
burning.
And
I watched burning. I mean,
Or in the picture, she does carry a candle.
Right. So
In the
here's the
movie, she
thing:
I
if
put
you,
candle.
anything.
if you put candle or if you put a wash basin, I gave it to you as being correct. Okay. Because depending on what the book says and what
I thought that said burning.
was she saying as she's walking around? What was it? What was it saying? Out.
How you,
she's like washing her hands trying to get out.
Out, damn spot. Out. Right. Out, damn spot.
She's trying to get blood off her hands.
Exactly. She has lost her mind. Okay.
she has
It explains, in Act 4, it explains why she lost her mind. Remember, she had to stand there and watch Macbeth burn Lady Macduff and her children at the stake. Remember that in the movie?
Yeah.
I mean, he lit them on fire in front of everybody. At that point, I mean, again, that's where the movie, where you can see emotion, where sometimes you can't get the emotion out of the book. You can get a good understanding, but you can see it on her face, where she really just changed.
her eyes were watering.
Yeah, I mean, she watched children burn in front of her, you know?
That was only in the movie.
And that was, yeah, in the movie, because they went further into detail, because they never said how, remember, in the book, Lady Macduff just runs off, and they leave it open. She runs off. They didn't even mention that the kids ran off until somebody comes and tells him that, hey, your wife and children had been murdered. So they kind of elaborate in the movie and show how they were killed, and it was a gruesome death. Lady Macbeth had to watch that. I mean, that would be traumatizing to anybody. The forces against Macbeth meet near
C.
C, Burnham Wood, right? Very good. When Macbeth and young Seward meet in battle, what happens?
D.
D. But anything different than that young Seward is killed? No? Good.
Comment.
Number 38. Seward concludes that his son died bravely. How did he conclude that?
I think
Raise your hands if you got A.
I didn't get A. I got C. I don't understand this one.
Because he says it specifically in the book. Because his son's wounds are on the front,
That means
he knows that he died bravely. He died fighting. Right? Because if his wounds were on the back, that would imply that you died as a coward running away, right? Okay. So, and if there were no witnesses reports, his son didn't leave a note, Macbeth didn't leave a note.
39, I probably got wrong too.
After number 39, after Lady Macbeth's sleepwalking scene, it can be assumed that
See, she feels guilty.
Oh, no, I got it.
she feels guilty. Because remember, again, going back to the murder of Macduff's wife and children, all of this started because of why? Lady Macbeth, right? I mean, Lady Macbeth. She had these aspirations for her husband to be king. We're going to do whatever we need to. So she's responsible for Duncan being murdered. She's responsible for Banquo being murdered. She's responsible for Lady Macbeth and her children being murdered. That's a lot of guilt.
That's why you don't push someone into murdering somebody. Yay.
Yeah, I mean, good lesson to be learned, huh? All right, now we get to my favorite part where I get to actually, you're going to each read me your answers, okay?
Yay.
I want to hear them. It's the what do you think? You were to choose 2 of the following questions to answer. So who answered number 40 as one of their questions?
I answered all of them.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead. So number 40 says, who do you think is more disturbed by Duncan's murder, Macbeth or Lady Macbeth, and explain your choice.
You know, elaborate a little more on my words because there wasn't enough space for me, but in the beginning, I would think like Macbeth is more guilty or feels more guilty because like in the beginning, he talks about like he's pressured into killing the king, and he talks about how like he's never going to be forgiven by God and stuff. But later on in the play, it's very clearly shown that Lady Macbeth, her cracks are showing as Macbeth steals his, you know? So
Very good way to put that. That's excellent.
and so Lady Macbeth obviously feels a lot of guilt in the end, and she kills herself, I mean. And she's like sleepwalking. And so I think personally in the end it's Lady Macbeth who's more guilty. It changes through the story. It's weird. It's like a switch.
That's that's a very good answer. I like it. Alex, can you share yours with me? Because I remember your writing. I really loved your answer. Number 40.
Lady Macbeth, even though she planned the murder, the sight of a dead body would disturb her because Duncan reminded her of her father, and the guilt affects her later in the story. Macbeth was on the battlefield, so he's seen death by his own hands. But it starts making him lose his mind as getting away with the murder starts something.
Fantastic answer. Again, I mean, and so even Macbeth didn't want to kill Duncan, right? He, like Alex pointed out, I mean, and you had a really good, excellent, but Macbeth has seen it. He's lived it, right? He's had blood on his hands before. I mean, yeah, he felt some guilt. Because why do you feel guilt? Duncan's a good guy. Hey, King Duncan was a good guy, and he loved Macbeth. And he came to honor him. So there was guilt. But in the end, you know, he's experienced killing people before, you know? And then he became so, like, engulfed in his own becoming king and being the tyrant that he was, you know, because remember, I mean, I didn't put in these questions, but remember, he said anybody else, if you notice anybody who has fear, kill him, right? That's a tyrant. And we're talking about innocent people. So when you see a child who's scared, just kill him.
Yeah.
A woman who's scared, kill him. That's a tyrant. I mean, that's kind of what we have happening in Ukraine right now. You know, to tie it into what's happening in modern times, you know, Russia has aspirations for whatever reason, which none of us know, to take over Ukraine, and it's by any means necessary. You know, Vladimir Putin is a tyrant. Not just taking over military bases, but now he's bombing and attacking civilian locations, killing women and children.
Did he explode the power plant?
No, he attacked the nuclear power plant and it was leaking, but they were able to get it under control, and now Russia has control over it and it's not leaking anymore. But it was a very, very risky because it would have been worse than Chernobyl.
What would happen if they like missile?
They would have, well, I mean, if it actually started leaking, they'd have a nuclear meltdown like Chernobyl. Chernobyl is another part in Ukraine that had a meltdown before, and still, nobody can live there. Within so many miles, nobody can live there. Animals run free, but a lot of the animals you'll see, like wild dogs, have 3 eyes, and
That's sick. I want to see that.
yeah, they're sick from radiation poisoning.
Do they die eventually?
Eventually, you get cancer. Radiation causes cancer.
I want to see a dog like
We
that.
want to see a lot of things, bro. Right now, let's see what we're doing right here.
Does it,
So who's got another? Thank you.
Thank
Who's got another answer? Getting off topic.
I think Lady Macbeth because she kind of falls into depression, and Macbeth cared at first, but later on.
It's a good answer.
It was simple answer.
It's a good, solid answer. Anybody have an answer for number 41? That in Act 4, why do you think Malcolm tells Macduff so many lies? Anybody answer that?
I think to show him he's better.
You want to say yours for 40? Yeah, please. Sure. She knew she was having her husband kill an innocent man, right? again, that can wear on her, right? That can make, I mean, she was, of the two, I mean, there's two different types of disturbed. Yeah, one second. There's two different types of disturbed, right? Like, Lady Macbeth was just like totally distraught. Macbeth was just, he became more evil, more of a tyrant. Lady Macbeth started feeling guilt for everything she had done, and she just fell into this deep depression. Yes, go ahead and read number 41. You asked, right?
Honestly, I wanted to erase that, but.
I don't know what I was.
What is the theme of moral? What is the theme or moral of the play? Be specific and give it to examples.
Okay.
I put the moral play is about Macbeth wanting to become king, killing Duncan, then getting murders to kill Banquo and his son, but they failed to kill himself.
Well, those are good examples, and that the moral is that there's a saying it's called absolute power corrupts absolutely. All right. Some people are never satisfied with the power they get. Macbeth was, he was given the title Thane of Cawdor. He was the king's right-hand man, right? You have the king, then you have the Thanes, right?
That's like the vice president.
Kind of, yeah, in a monarchy. Thane of Cawdor, of all the Thanes, sits directly below the king. That wasn't enough for him. He wanted more. He wanted to be king, so he kills the king. He wanted to keep that power, so he starts killing other people. I'm going to kill this person's son. I'm going to kill these people. It's just that the power he had corrupted him. Yes.
In a way, he technically didn't want the power because he didn't want to kill Duncan.
Initially,
But his wife forced him.
once he became king, it was by any means necessary, right?
Yeah.
He'll do anything to maintain it because he got to feel that power of being king. He never even got to enjoy being Thane of Cawdor. He was Thane of Cawdor for maybe a couple of days. If there was, depending on how long of a break there was between, the ceremony and then his actual death, maybe a couple of days. He never got to experience that. But once he became king, you realize, king that's a huge thing. You rule over everything, especially this time. There's nobody higher than you in the land.
In the story, it's like right after Macbeth becomes the Thane of Cawdor,
It seems like
Duncan goes to his castle,
next day, right?
which would probably take like a day or two to get there.
Exactly.
Then right after the night, Duncan gets killed, and then next 2 days later, that Macbeth is king.
So, anybody have any other answers they'd like to share? Yes. Perfect.
I believe the main theme is to not let your own perceived power get to your head. During the story, you see Macbeth's descent into madness and tyranny. And this all because of a few words, really, because the witches, they talk about, oh, you're going to be king, it's a big thing. And then once he murders Duncan, it really gets to his head, But what I like to think of Banquo as kind of the opposite of Macbeth in a way, because he sees this great news that his kids are going to become king someday, and instead he obviously nurtures his child. He goes horse riding with him. He makes sure that the child has a good life,
Exactly.
So in the end, Macbeth, he loses everything. He loses love. He loses friends and fulfillment.
I think that's a good point, because Banquo, being told his sons are going to become king, that could have easily made him be motivated. Well, if my sons are going to become king, I'm older, I should become king first. But he didn't. No, I just want the best, like you said, I want the best for my children. So I'm going to raise them, love them, nurture them, care for them, so that when they become king, they're the right kind of king. They're not a tyrant. They're good-hearted, loving people, right?
Mm-hmm. And even in the movie, you could see near the I don't know where it was, but it was before the horseback riding scene. But you could see he was talking to his kid, and he was being a good father,
He rubs them on the head.
Yeah,
He's obviously a loving, caring person, and that's what you want out of a ruler. Whether it's a king or a president, whatever kind of government you have, you want somebody who cares about people, who cares about people as a whole, not just about them and their own interests, right?
Chris, when St. Patrick's Day?
Random thoughts by Lisa.
We're all deep.
It's this month, man. I don't know.
14th.
Does it say? Click it on your calendar, because You're looking at
I'm
it.
not good at these. Why would I know?
So,
No, it's not.
for you two, I will grade yours. Rest of you guys did not do a bad job. I mean,
Hey,
it was,
Chris, we don't go to school, right?
yes, we do. That's not a bad job, you know, I'm telling you. It's not a bad job. A bad job is if you failed the exam. Okay? That's a bad job. You guys not failed it, okay? You got a D for 2 reasons. For one, you didn't put enough thought into it, okay? You rushed through it. And then you get in these mindsets where it's like, I don't care. And that doesn't benefit you, okay? Once you stay focused, when you stay focused, why do you have A's and B's in all your classes? Because you're focused and you have positive thoughts, you work hard, right? You put that effort into every assignment. This is a big test. I mean, it's worth 90 points, dude. Right? I mean, put the time and effort into everything that it deserves, and you'll find success. You're still doing well in class. Okay, your grade is still well, you're still doing fine. Okay, I want you getting down on yourself. You're doing fine.
I gave you mine.
But attitude is everything, okay? And understand, when you give me negative attitude, I'm gonna give it right back to you because I'm not here to coddle you. I'm here to be real with you, right? You're doing fantastic.
I don't know, how many points?
Did you call him Honey Bun? Oh,
No.
okay, I'm sorry.
Wait.
I thought you called Keelan Honey Bun. Yeah, I'm
I
like,
said, does someone want
we don't need any of that.
Wait, what?